You ever think you know people so well that nothing could shake your trust in them? That was me. Jason was my boyfriend of 3 years. Emily was my best friend since high school. If you asked me back then who the two most important people in my life were, I'd have said their names without hesitation. Jason didn't just show up in my life. He crashed in like a storm on a summer night. Loud, sudden, impossible to ignore. I first met him at a barbecue. It wasn't anything special, just one of those neighborhood things where everyone brings too much food and the grill smoke lingers in the air for hours. He wasn't the most handsome guy there, but he was magnetic. The type who made people turn their heads without even trying. He had this way of leaning into conversations, making whomever he was talking to feel like the most important person in the world. I was standing by the snack table, stacking way too many chips on my plate when he strolled over. Planning for the apocalypse, he joked, raising an eyebrow. I didn't miss a beat. Obviously, you think I'm sharing when the world ends? He laughed, that deep, easy kind of laugh that made you feel like you said the funniest thing in the world. And that was it. The spark lit. We spent the rest of the night trading sarcastic one-liners, like we'd known each other for years. The following weeks were a blur. He texted me every morning, little things like, "Don't forget your umbrella, it's gonna rain," or "You've got this meeting, right? You'll crush it." He remembered details most people would forget. How I took my coffee, one sugar, splash of cream, my favorite show, even the way I complained about my boss's annoying habit of tapping his pen during meetings. He started showing up outside my office, holding that exact cup of coffee I liked, grinning like he had pulled off the sweetest prank in the world. Once, he even waited an hour in the rain just so he could walk me home with his umbrella when I forgot mine. I wasn't looking for love then, but with Jason, it felt effortless, like slipping into a rhythm I didn't know I needed. And then there was Emily. Emily had been my best friend for years. We'd survived awkward teenage phases, breakups, family drama, and all the messiness of growing up. She was the friend who answered my 3 a.m. calls without hesitation. The friend who would lend me her favorite sweater, even if she knew I'd forget to return it for months. We had memories layered on top of memories. Late night ice cream runs, crying over stupid high school crushes, laughing so hard at inside jokes that strangers gave us side eyes. When I introduced her to Jason, I was nervous. I wanted her approval, and his too. But Emily greeted him with a hug, smiling ear to ear. "Finally," she said, "someone who treats her right." Jason chuckled and replied, "Don't worry, I'll take care of her." From that moment, the three of us were practically inseparable. Dinners, game nights, weekend trips. There was this one road trip where we blasted old songs and sang so badly, it felt like we were auditioning for the worst choir in the world. I remember looking at them in the car, Jason drumming on the steering wheel, Emily laughing so hard she had tears in her eyes, and thinking, this is perfect. My boyfriend and my best friend not only liked each other, they genuinely enjoyed being around one another. I thought I had it all. I didn't realize how perfect was just another word for fragile. Looking back, I realized betrayal doesn't slam into you all at once. It creeps in like hairline fractures in glass, tiny, almost invisible. You don't notice them until suddenly the whole thing shatters in your hands. At first, it was little things. Jason started canceling date nights. He'd call apologetic but rushed, saying he had to stay late at work. I believed him. He had a demanding job and sometimes deadlines kept him in the office. I didn't love it, but it made sense. Emily, too, started flaking. She texts me last-minute excuses. "Sorry, my mom needs help with something," or "I'm exhausted, rain check." Nothing suspicious on its own. Everyone gets busy. But what unsettled me was how often their excuses lined up. It didn't click immediately. Why would it? Jason and Emily were the two people I trusted most in the world. If anything, I brushed off the thought the moment it crossed my mind. But once doubt sneaks in, it's hard to shake. One night, I was FaceTiming Emily lying on my bed, absent-mindedly painting my nails. We were laughing about something dumb when she casually said, "Oh, I was going to text you, but Jason told you had plans tonight." I froze. My brush hovered midair, a drop of nail polish about to fall onto the sheets. I didn't know Jason had mentioned anything about plans. I forced a laugh, brushing it off. "Oh yeah, totally forgot," I lied. But inside, a knot tightened in my stomach. Then came Jason's slip-ups. We were eating dinner one evening when he started raving about a new restaurant downtown. He described the food in detail like he'd just eaten there. The seasoning, the decor, even the dessert menu. I smiled and asked, "When did you go there?" There was a pause, a half second too long. Then he said, "Oh, with some coworkers." His eyes darted away as he said it. It wasn't damning proof, but my gut whispered something I didn't want to hear. I shoved the thought down. People make mistakes. Maybe he just forgot to invite me. Maybe I was overthinking. But the small signs piled up. Emily's sudden wardrobe changes. She claimed she was just experimenting with her style, but she'd show up in outfits that screamed date night, only to insist she had nowhere to go. Jason's phone became his lifeline. He used to leave it on the table, notifications popping up freely. Now it was always face down, locked tight. If it buzzed, he'd snatch it up so fast you'd think it was a bomb about to go off. And then there was the way they acted around each other when I was there. It's hard to explain, but the energy shifted. The laughter felt a little too easy, the inside jokes a little too sharp. I'd catch them exchanging quick glances, and when I'd looked, they'd look away too quickly too. At first, I thought, great, they're just comfortable around each other. But another part of me whispered, or maybe they're hiding something. My heart wanted to trust them. My gut told me not to. I went with my heart. Until the night that changed everything. It was a Thursday. Jason texted me that morning. "Hey babe, heading out of town tonight to see my brother. Back late tomorrow. Love you." A few hours later, Emily messaged me, "Family dinner tonight. Wish me luck. It's gonna be boring." Something about the timing didn't sit right. Both of them unavailable on the same night with excuses that felt too clean, too rehearsed. I tried to shake it off, but driving home from work, I saw it. Jason's car. Same dent in the bumper, same tacky sports decal on the back window, parked just down the street from Emily's apartment. My breath caught in my throat. My brain scrambled for excuses. Maybe he stopped by to drop something off. Maybe he was visiting someone else in the building. Maybe anything other than the truth clawing at my chest. But deep down, I knew. I gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I wanted to slam the brakes, march up there, pound on the door until my fists bled. But I didn't do that. Instead, I drove past, heart pounding, vision blurry. That night, I made a decision. I wouldn't confront them. Not yet. If my best friend and my boyfriend were betraying me, then I needed proof. Solid, undeniable proof. And when I had it, I wouldn't just break up with Jason or cut Emily off. No, I would make sure everyone saw them for what they really were. Because the best revenge isn't loud. It's patient. And mine was only just beginning. Once I saw Jason's car outside Emily's apartment, I couldn't unsee it. The image stayed burned in my mind, replaying over and over like a bad film reel. His stupid decal, the dent he always swore he'd get fixed, parked in the exact spot I never wanted it to be. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my chest tight, my thoughts circling like vultures. Part of me still wanted to believe there was another explanation. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe Jason had actually gone in to drop something harmless, like a book I'd lent Emily. Maybe Emily had just invited him over because, I don't know, she needed a light bulb changed. But the excuses were weak, flimsy, and I knew it. My gut was screaming at me, and this time I decided to listen. So I set a trap. The next day, I texted Emily casually, "Want to hang tomorrow? Girls' night?" I added a heart emoji like nothing was wrong. Her reply came almost instantly. "Sorry, busy all night." Not even a fake excuse, just busy. 5 minutes later, Jason texted me, "Hey, can't see you tomorrow. Got a late shift." I stared at my phone. The messages glowing on the screen mocking me, both of them busy, both of them brushing me off on the same night. I didn't answer either of them. My hand shook, but not from sadness, from rage. Cold, sharp, focused rage. Because now I knew. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry in front of them. I was going to watch. I was going to wait. And when the time came, I'd make sure their lies collapsed in front of everyone. The next evening, I parked a few houses down from Emily's apartment. I killed the engine, cracked the windows, and sat there in the dark. My heart thudded like a drum in my chest. My palms were slick with sweat. The first hour was nothing, just the faint glow of her living room light, shadows shifting occasionally against the blinds. I almost convinced myself I was losing it, that maybe no one would show up. Then, headlights. Jason's car pulled up, slow and casual, like he had every right to be there. My breath caught. I ducked low, peering over the edge of the steering wheel as he got out. He wasn't carrying anything. No package, no bag, nothing that might suggest a drop-off. Just his phone in his hand and that familiar swagger in his step. Emily opened the door before he even knocked. She'd been waiting. And then I saw it. The thing that shattered every last doubt. Jason leaned in, kissed her cheek, and Emily laughed, tugging him inside. I sat frozen, tears blurring my vision. My whole body shook. My chest felt hollow, scooped clean, like there was nothing left inside me. This wasn't a nightmare. It was real. My boyfriend, my best friend, together. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my fingers ached. Every instinct screamed at me to storm up there, to pound on the door until my fists bled, to scream every curse word I knew until the whole building heard. But I didn't. I stayed still, silent, invisible. Because in that moment, something inside me shifted. If they were going to betray me like this, then I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of my tears. I wasn't going to break in front of them. No. I was going to make sure their betrayal didn't stay hidden in the shadows of Emily's apartment. I was going to drag it into the light where everyone could see them for exactly who they were. That night, sitting in my car with my heart breaking in two pieces, I whispered to myself, if you're going to hurt me, then I'll make sure you regret it. And with that, the planning began. Revenge isn't something you just throw together overnight. Not the kind I wanted anyway. If I was going to do this, it had to be flawless. They needed to feel the weight of every lie, every betrayal, until the walls they'd built for themselves came crashing down. The morning after I saw Jason walk into Emily's apartment, I sat at my kitchen table staring at my cold coffee. My hands were trembling, not from fear anymore, but from the adrenaline of a decision that couldn't be undone. I opened my laptop. Step one was obvious, proof. No one believes vague accusations, especially when emotions are involved. I needed evidence, something undeniable, something that would silence any excuses before they even tried. So I started small. Jason and I had always shared locations on our phones, a safety thing we'd called it. I opened the app, and there it was. His little dot hovering over Emily's apartment. Not once, not twice, but almost every night he'd claimed to be working late. I screenshotted everything. Dates, times, circles around the map. Then, I checked our texts. I had hundreds of messages saved, every sweet lie he'd sent while apparently warming Emily's bed. Sorry, babe, swamped with reports tonight. Screenshot. Wish I was with you. Screenshot. For Emily, I dug through old conversations. She'd always been quick to text me back, but lately her responses were delayed, vague. She'd say things like, oh, just tired, or not much, just chilling. Meanwhile, her Instagram story would show her wine glasses clinking against someone's, never showing the other glass clearly. Now I knew whose glass it was. Screenshot. Screenshot. But screenshots weren't enough. I wanted live proof. So the next Friday, I told Jason I was visiting my parents for the weekend. I even packed a small bag to make it believable, tossed it in the trunk, and drove off like I really was leaving town. Instead, I parked around the corner from Emily's apartment again. Sure enough, an hour later, Jason's car rolled up. My stomach twisted, but my hand was steady as I lifted my phone, recording the whole thing. Him walking up, Emily opening the door, the way he slipped inside without hesitation. I stayed there for another half hour, filming when the curtains shifted just enough to catch their shadows moving too close together. Proof. I remember leaning back in my seat, exhaling for what felt like the first time in days. I had them. But catching them wasn't enough. I didn't just want to confront them in private. I wanted the world to see the truth. That's when the idea for the reveal started to form. Emily's birthday was 2 weeks away. She had planned this big dinner with all our mutual friends. Jason was, of course, invited. He'd even told me he couldn't wait to celebrate our girl. Perfect. 2 snakes, 1 party. I spent those 2 weeks gathering everything. I became a ghost in my own life, quiet, watchful. I stopped asking Jason about his nights, stopped questioning Emily's excuses. Let them believe I was oblivious, even supportive. Behind the scenes, I worked. I compiled screenshots into a neat little folder, labeled them by date, made a timeline, every lie, every overlap. I stitched together the videos I recorded, muted them so there'd be no excuses about context, just Jason walking into Emily's apartment, Jason leaving the next morning. The timestamps glowed in the corner of the screen. And for the grand finale, I wrote a letter. Not to Jason, not to Emily, but to everyone else. To the people they thought they were fooling. In it, I explained everything. Calm, measured, almost clinical. I wasn't going to sound like a jealous girlfriend or a bitter best friend. I wanted my words to cut through any defense they might try to build. By the time Emily's birthday dinner rolled around, my plan was airtight. The only thing left was execution. The night before the party, Jason came over. He kissed me like nothing was wrong, curled up beside me on the couch, asked if I'd help him pick out a shirt for tomorrow. I looked at him, really looked at him, and for a split second I felt the ghost of what I used to feel, that warmth, that safety. Then I remembered the videos on my laptop, the screenshots, Emily's laugh as she opened the door for him. And just like that, the ghost was gone. I smiled back at him, pretending I was still his, pretending I'd already sharpened the knife he was about to fall on. As he drifted off to sleep, his arms slung carelessly over me, I whispered in my head, tomorrow, it ends. Emily's birthday dinner wasn't just a party. It was the event she'd been hyping up for weeks. She rented out the back room of a cozy restaurant downtown. The kind with dim lighting, rustic brick walls, and just enough atmosphere to make everyone feel like they were at the center of something important. By the time I arrived, the place was buzzing. Our mutual friends filled the room with chatter and laughter, glasses clinking, music humming low in the background. Emily was in her element, soaking up attention like a star on stage. Jason stood near her, one arm casually draped around her shoulders, as he leaned in, whispering something that made her giggle. I stood in the doorway for a moment, taking it all in. The sight of them together made my stomach churn. But tonight wasn't about me falling apart. Tonight was about control. Tonight was about precision. I plastered on a smile, walked in like nothing was wrong, and handed Emily a neatly wrapped gift. She hugged me, whispering, "You're the best," into my ear. Jason kissed my cheek, acting like the devoted boyfriend he pretended to be. "Happy birthday," I said sweetly, forcing warmth into my voice. Inside, my chest was ice. Dinner went smoothly at first. Plates of pasta, laughter bouncing from wall to wall, endless stories and toasts. Emily was glowing, Jason was charming, and everyone else seemed blissfully unaware of the knife hanging over their heads. But I wasn't there to enjoy dinner. When the waiter came around with the cake, candles flickering, everyone started singing. Emily closed her eyes, hands clasped, making her wish. For a brief moment, I wondered what it was. Did she wish for happiness, love, a future with Jason? Whatever it was, she blew out those candles, smiling wide, having no idea her entire life was about to collapse. As people clapped and cheered, I quietly stood up. My hands didn't shake, my heart didn't race. I was calm, colder than I'd ever been in my life. "Before we cut the cake," I said, my voice steady but loud enough to carry across the room, "I have a little something special for Emily and Jason." The room went quiet. Dozens of eyes turned toward me. Emily blinked, confused, still smiling. Jason shifted in his seat, an uneasy glance flickering across his face. I pulled a small remote from my purse and clicked it. The restaurant had a projector for parties, one Emily had requested for a slideshow of her favorite photos. Instead, the screen lit up with the folder titled Truth. The first slide appeared, a screenshot of Jason's location history. His dot parked outside Emily's apartment night after night. Murmurs spread through the room. Chairs creaked as people leaned in. Click. The next slide, Jason's text to me, claiming he was working late, time-stamped to the exact nights he'd been at Emily's place. A gasp. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Click. A video played. Jason walking up to Emily's door, Emily opening it, smiling, tugging him inside, the timestamp glowing in the corner like a brand. The room erupted, gasps, whispers, the sound of someone dropping their fork. Emily's face drained of color. Jason sat frozen, his jaw clenched, eyes darting wildly as if looking for a way out. I didn't stop. Slide after slide, proof layered on proof. Lies unraveled in front of everyone, each one leaving them more exposed than the last. When the final slide faded, I spoke again. My voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "This is what happens when your best friend and your boyfriend think they can lie to your face. So, happy birthday, Emily. And Jason, well, I guess this is your goodbye present." Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Emily's eyes filled with tears. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Jason tried to speak, but the noise of the room drowned him out. Our friends, their voices sharp and angry, some yelling at him, some at her, some just sitting in stunned silence. I didn't wait for excuses. I didn't need them. I picked up my purse, turned on my heel, and walked out. My legs felt steady, my chin high, my back straight. Behind me, the room buzzed with chaos. Voices rising, the sound of everything they'd built crumbling into dust. And me? For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I felt free. Walking out of that restaurant felt like stepping out of a cage. For weeks, I had been trapped, carrying around the weight of their lies, suffocating under the knowledge of their betrayal. But as I pushed open those heavy doors and felt the cool night air on my face, the weight slid off my shoulders. I didn't run. I didn't cry. I just walked, slow and steady, like someone who had finally reclaimed control of her life. My phone buzzed before I even got home. Jason. Over and over. Calls, voicemails, texts. Please, it's not what it looked like. You're blowing this out of proportion. Can we talk? Emily tried too. Shorter messages. Desperate. I didn't mean for this to happen. You have to believe me. Please call me. I didn't respond to a single one. Deleting each message felt like peeling another layer of them off my skin. And then the storm hit. But not for me, for them. Word spread fast. People love gossip, and this was fire. Within a day, the screenshots were circulating in group chats, the video was being replayed at gatherings, and everyone had an opinion. Jason, who once thrived on being the life of the party, suddenly found himself on the outside. Friends avoided him. At work, whispers followed him down hallways. One of his co-workers, who was at the dinner, apparently told half the office. His boss heard about it. The charmer image Jason had built so carefully cracked wide open. Emily fared no better. She had always been the dependable friend, the one people trusted with secrets. Not anymore. She became the cautionary tale. Invitations dried up. Friends stopped answering her calls. Even her own family, who had loved me like one of their own, messaged me to apologize on her behalf. She was left with the only person who could stand her anymore, Jason. And from what I heard later, even that didn't last long. Two people built on lies eventually collapsed under the weight of them. The best part? I didn't have to lift a finger after that night. I didn't post a thing, didn't send the evidence to anyone. I let the truth do its work. Once it was out in the open, it spread like wildfire. And me, I healed. Slowly. I won't pretend it was instant. Nights were hard at first. Sometimes I woke up expecting a good morning text that would never come. Sometimes I reached for my phone, ready to call Emily before remembering she wasn't my friend anymore. There were days the betrayal hit me all over again, sharp and fresh. But healing isn't about pretending it didn't hurt. It's about knowing you survived it. I focused on myself, went back to the gym, picked up hobbies I'd abandoned, reconnected with old friends who reminded me of who I was before Jason and Emily. Each step, no matter how small, was a victory. And slowly something shifted. Instead of pity, people started calling me strong. Instead of whispers behind my back, I heard admiration, like, "You handled that better than anyone else could have. I wish I had your strength. You're a legend for what you did at that party." Legend. That word stuck with me, not because I wanted to be remembered for revenge, but because I wanted to be remembered for not letting betrayal destroy me, for standing tall in the face of it. As for Jason and Emily, they became footnotes. People still mention them sometimes, usually in hushed tones or with a laugh about that insane birthday dinner. But me, I walked away with my head high. And that's what real revenge is. Not screaming, not fighting, not even exposing them in front of everyone. Though, I won't lie, that was satisfying. Real revenge is showing them they can't touch you, that their betrayal, no matter how deep, won't define you. So, that's my story. Jason and Emily thought they were clever, thought they could lie and sneak around without me ever finding out. But in the end, they exposed themselves. All I did was hand them the mirror. And if you thought that was wild, just wait. I've got plenty more stories where this one came from. So hit that subscribe button because trust me, you don't want to miss the next one.